how do you become or stay creative on demand? I think one of the ways is go out and walk a retail mall, or go out and walk a botanical garden, or in this case, if you have the means to go to a EuroShop. I think that's one of the great takeaways, is being able to recharge batteries and start to see an industry that I've been in for several decades with a fresh set of eyes, and come back inspired and hopefully able to share that with my team.
Strong companies, lasting partnerships, powerful events. Welcome to the Experience Builders Podcast.
Chris, when was the last time you got out to Europe?
So last time in Europe was 3 years ago this month at the last EuroShop meeting, and it was two noteworthy events. As I was leaving, the COVID virus was just hitting the European continent from Asia. So that was the first notable thing. The second thing was I was a 20-hour flight, Dusseldorf, the wrong way to Turkey for an airport meeting, to New York and home. So 20 total. And apparently I built a blood clot in my leg on that flight. So, I mean, it was a surreal, should have known the blood clot was the easiest thing after what was to come for the next couple of years for our industry. But have not been back to Europe since. And I'll be honest, really looking forward to going back this week for EuroShop 2023. So.
Yeah, we're talking about EuroShop, and honestly, I'm not too familiar with the event, and maybe some listeners out there aren't either. We want to cover, why you should go today and what you can learn from the event, who you're going to be able to meet, and what you're going to be able to see while you're at EuroShop. So for those of the listeners that are like me, why don't you inform us of what EuroShop is?
So it's the world's largest trade fair for anybody that has anything to do with retail, trade shows, conventions, business conference, face-to-face marketing in general. I think the thing that's so impressive about EuroShop, Khalil, is the sheer size of the show. So it takes place, official dates, just for those who don't know, February 26th through March 2nd is the exhibition hall hours. It is in Düsseldorf, Germany, Messe Düsseldorf, which is about 15 separate exhibit halls. So those of you that know Chicago's McCormick Place, or Orlando has the West Hall and the North-South building, two good-sized buildings. Las Vegas has one big building, what they call North Hall Central and South Lower and Upper, and then the new West Hall. So that's, in theory, that's 4 halls. 15 halls at Messe Düsseldorf. It's just, it's a lot of walking, but really, and the whole place is full. So one hall will just be filled with lighting. One hall might just be filled with retail fixtures. One hall, and I'll spend a lot of time in this hall, has to do with, exhibits, more for trade shows and conventions. But it's an extraordinary gathering in one location, Khalil. And the designs, it's not just cool products, but then, the designs you see are just like no other. And again, for those that haven't been to shows in Europe before, you typically have a much longer window to do your move-in and your installation. The materials you use are not all pre-engineered systems, and they're not all pre-engineered in the U.S., but many are, because we are on a much shorter window, right, on how long we have to move in and move out a show. So you really can see some creative things with lighting. You can have an entire forest with real floral. You can have sheetrock with custom painting and wallpapering, and because you've got the time to do that. So really an exciting, it's an exciting environment. So I'd recommend, if you may not go every 3 years, but everybody, if you're in this industry, should make the pilgrimage at least once.
Yeah, absolutely. So whenever you're there, what's the schedule like? How long are you going to be there? And who are you going to be meeting?
So great question. So I think most Americans that make the trip over, we try and maximize the time. So I will see suppliers. I have customers. I know, we talk a lot about EDPA and that community, the Experiential Designers and Producers Association. One of the fun, for me, one of the funnest parts is one night of the 5 days of the show. We have what's called an EDPA pub crawl. And, Americans, right? We don't do anything like the rest of the world. So you think of a pub crawl and you think, all right, man, we're just going to start at one place and we're just going to go until, we run out of gas. Well, the American pub crawl for EDPA, we go to one place and we camp out for 4 hours. Right? So there is no crawl. There's really just camping out.
You just go until you have to crawl out.
Maybe that's what they mean. I think we usually cap it at 100 because we've been doing the same ancient beer hall location for years, but it's a great place for a lot of the Americans and some of our international friends that are EDPA members to gather and just get together for some camaraderie and good fellowship and, raise a pint or two or three or four and enjoy each other's company. So it's a lot of fun. I think that's happening on Monday night. But for example, but I'll call ahead and I'll book appointments in the exhibits of the vendors that I want to see, whether they're existing or new. Several of my vendors are from Belgium. Some of the partners are from Spain. I've got clients and agencies that are coming in from, that'll be there from France and from England and really all over Europe and a lot of Eastern European. And it's a great place for everybody to meet. And in 5 days, I can see suppliers and some of our international partners, and it's wonderful. A lot of Asia suppliers and customers come in. So for all the reasons that U.S. companies go to trade shows in the U.S. and in 3 to 5 days, you can see all your suppliers. It would normally take you weeks or months to do that via sales calls. It's just a great place to go. So I will also, some of our suppliers then will arrange for a coach bus to, if you want to go see their factory in Belgium or, in a place that's a 4-hour bus ride, you have an opportunity to go do that. You go in one day, tour in the morning, you come back the next night. So you might take a couple of days and see your suppliers that way. But really, people think, well, we really mostly do U.S. business. I don't know a lot of companies that are saying that anymore. If you're serving your brand side clients, you need partners across the pond, and they for sure need partners in the U.S. So I find that we get great strategic fulfillment partners with the meetings I have there, as well as we always pick up new customers that are looking for representation and a trustworthy partner here in the States for places like Las Vegas and Orlando where we work. So.
Yeah, always good to be investing in your network and expanding it, but also pouring back into those relationships and keeping them healthy. What else are you going to walk away from EuroShop with? So
I used to hear for years before I would go, and I've only been a couple of times before this trip, but it used to be go to EuroShop, see how exhibits are built, and that's a snapshot of what the U.S. market's going to look like in 3 or 4 years. So I remember when, a lot of aluminum extrusion systems, and we were all laminated solid panels here, but a lot of the German and European extruders were building great things out of aluminum. Sure enough, that was the trend here a few years later, and then it flipped. They picked up on some of the big walls and laminate things we were doing, and that became the trend there. So some of that is cyclical, but I think from a design standpoint, Khalil, we're going to do a show in a few weeks talking about how do you recharge creativity. I've always thought one of the hardest jobs in our industry is being a designer, where like you're a full-time designer and you're, during the high season, like right now, you might be given 10, 12, 15 projects you're involved in the design on, and every client wants a design back in 48 hours, right? So how do you become or stay creative on demand? What if you just aren't feeling creative? So I want to, I'm reaching out to a buddy, Satchel Josephson, who really oversees the Bemidji State Design Program, which is legendary in the U.S. Trade show industry. I want to get Satchel on and talk about how does he do it? How does he coach his students to do that? And I think one of the ways is, and I've talked to my own designers about this, just go out and walk a retail mall, or go out and walk a botanical garden. Or in this case, if you have the means to go to a EuroShop, you just come out of there seeing things, using materials and organic. And what I love about the Europeans is I think they're ahead of the curve on using sustainable products, right? Which is really cool. And so I think that's one of the great takeaways, is being able to recharge batteries and start to see an industry that I've been in for several decades, and with a fresh set of eyes, and come back inspired and hopefully able to share that with my team. So.
Amazing. Well, I think it's always good to get away, to get inspired again. So oftentimes you're in the trenches and you just can't get your head up long enough to understand what the landscape looks like and where the future is and how you can improve. So glad that you're getting this experience over in EuroShop. I hope others that are going this year get the same experience, and that others will plan on going in the future. You leave tomorrow, right?
Leave tomorrow. I think I don't land till my final destination in Dusseldorf till Friday, mid or late afternoon. That for us, the show starts on Sunday. So smart enough to talk to some American friends. We're sort of congregating at the same cluster of hotels. So we can share Uber rides and cabs, and maybe hook up for dinner and compare notes at the end of the day. So I'm also speaking on a panel over there. Okay. There's 4 or 5 of us been asked to speak about what it looks like in the North American market, right? Because so many of the companies based in Europe know there's a huge opportunity here. The rules are much different in the United States. And I don't necessarily mean that in a kind way, right? So we have, there's a lot of jurisdictional differences with things like unions, where in a lot of the cities in Europe, you can set up your own, you can do your own electrical panel, you can move your own freight in, you can literally drive, your truck or your van with your exhibit properties into the hall, right up to your booth space, and unload yourself right there. So just different than being here. They're told, no, you're not allowed to touch that or do that, and you're going to pay for that. And it's just a different model. And so part of what we're talking about is with our friends that go, why is it so insanely expensive and crazy in the US? And hopefully we'll, it is what it is, and happy to answer any questions on that. But let's talk about why we still go through it, right? There's a huge opportunity with, millions and millions of exhibitors and the spending that takes place here. Another thing that I'm excited about for EuroShop, which is, I don't know, there's still, Khalil, quite a lag and delay in visas being processed by companies. So, for example, this is part of the advocacy we're still working on with the EPA, but, if you're in India and you're trying to get a visa to come to the U.S., average wait time right now is 476 days. Colombia, over 800 days. China has really been working, ironically, to bring their lead time down. Depending on the province, it's anywhere from 5 to 35 days, which I think this has to do mostly with how the U.S. embassies are staffed. But there are 40% of the people that want to come over here have to get a visa in order to participate. So, when you realize in the North American market, 30% of the opportunity for both attendees and exhibitors is coming from overseas, that's a huge part of the business audience that's still not able to participate. So I think some of them, if the restrictions, or it's easier for them to get into a show like EuroShop, I think we'll have an opportunity to see some people maybe we haven't seen in a while. And I'm looking forward to that. So
that's fantastic. Yeah. Well, you'll have to keep us updated while you're out there. Make some LinkedIn videos for us so we can stay in touch and see what it's like for those of us that can't attend.
No, looking forward to it. And again, to my owner friends or just professionals, if you're ever thinking about it, yes, there's a significant spend. Your airfare is going to cost you more. Your hotels may cost you the same as what you're used to. You're going to spend on food, but acknowledging that there's a bigger spend. But I got to tell you, when I went the first time, I made the commitment. I'm definitely going to be going on a regular basis. I may not get it every 3 years, but it really is worth it. You do make great contacts. The design experience is second to none. And if you can tie a few days of free time to recharge your batteries on a personal level, again, remember that we think about the United States as one market. Comparably, there's 13 or 15 countries that are in the same close travel proximity as if we were traveling here locally. So take advantage. Our customers are doing it. I think we're better serving them if we've had that same experience that they do. So appreciate a couple minutes to be able to talk about EuroShop. Hope to see a lot of my friends over there, and we'll definitely be posting and talking about it on a future episode after the fact.
Sounds great. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Khalil. See you next week.
Thanks for listening to the Experience Builders Podcast. Check out our website in the show notes or visit crewxp.com to learn more.